This is a time when feminine skills have really come to the fore. What we've seen across the world is a pattern of women leaders who appear to have handled the pandemic very well by listening to the experts, having clear communication, and adopting a collaborative bottom-up approach to governance. And that's been placed in sharp relief by more maverick leaders who have been leading the countries that have really not fared so well during the pandemic. So, for example, Bolsonaro in Brazil, Trump in the United States, and more recently we're seeing that Modi's approach in India has not been as effective as that of female leaders.
Can you sort of just narrow it down for Jacinda Ardern and perhaps Angela Merkel too, despite the problems in Europe with the vaccine rollout? Can you give me some specifics about how they have performed better than their male counterparts?
I think the starting point there is they both listen to the experts, and that's a trait that is associated with feminine leadership. That's a trait of collaboration, of listening, but without losing sight of the fact that it's still your responsibility to make the call. Yeah? So both Jacinda Ardern and Angela Merkel listened to the experts. They locked down early, even though that possibly wasn't popular at the time, but they adopted very clear, convincing communication strategies. It's striking that Angela Merkel, who is known as the mummy of the nation in Germany, but her background as a scientist came to the fore as being really valuable during the management of this pandemic. And the collaborative approach that was taken with teams of scientists, not only in epidemiology, but also in psychology, in economy, that they were brought together.
The traits you mentioned from Jacinda Ardern and Mutti, Angela Merkel, aren't they stereotypically feminine? Collaborative, listening, empathy. I mean, were those the reasons for their success, or was it more to do with what you mentioned with Merkel, that she had a scientific background? And it's very, very rare, male or female, of leaders around the world to have scientific backgrounds.
That's an essential point. I think a concern that's coming out of the debate around women leaders is that those stereotypical traits are being reinforced, and perhaps we're overlooking that what really counts is the fact that they've come from an institutional setting, a political culture which values feminine traits. So the things that countries that have been led by women have in common is that the political systems, the institutions of governance allow women to come to the fore because those skills are valued. In those situations, collaboration is more valued, solidarity is more valued over competition. And that's really what has made countries like New Zealand, Germany, Finland, that's what sets them apart. And therefore, they have more women leaders because feminine traits are valued.
Do you think the COVID crisis will make it easier for women to rise to the top in politics? Has it had a political impact?
I very much hope so. The molds have begun to break, I think, and the ideas we have of leadership are changing all the time. COVID has allowed feminine traits, the importance of collaboration, of listening, of empathy. They've been praised internationally as qualities of leadership. So I think there has been a step change in the way that the world sees leaderships and the leadership and the characteristics that we value in leaders. I would strike a note of caution that historically there's a pattern that women leaders do come to the fore in crises. It's almost like mum catching the ball and clearing up the mess kind of thing. And what tends to happen, we saw that in the financial crisis, for example, like there was suddenly a desire for more women leaders. But what tends to happen is when there's some kind of normality or stability has come back, there tends to be a reversion to more traditional styles of leadership. And I hope that during the COVID pandemic, feminine skills, not only in leadership, but as you mentioned in your introduction, the importance of care, the importance of the social infrastructure, the work that women do across the economy and society is going to be more valued because it's been very clear that they're extremely needed.
Professor Kate Maclean from Northumbria University, many thanks for joining us on The Agenda.
Thank you very much.